Imagine you're at a Roman dinner party somewhere around 50 AD. The food is good, the wine is flowing, but the moment that changes everything is when the host brings out a small stamped clay jar and places it on the table. The room shifts, conversations pause, because everyone in that room knows what that jar means. It means they are the part of the 0.1%, and that jar, it's filled with fish sauce. This is the story of garam, the ancient world's most powerful status symbol, and why it is more relevant to modern luxury than anything you would ever expect. Hi, I'm Avni, and here we explore the ideas, cultures, and stories that shape the world around us. So, garum. It was the liquid gold of ancient Rome. You can think of it as a Roman version of soy sauce. While the Japanese are obsessed with soy sauce, for Romans it was garum. It was like a fish pickle. They would take fish guts and small whole fish and layer them with salt and sometimes even with herbs. Then it would be left in the sun for months, and boom, you have your fish sauce, also known as garum. And while it was used by everyone, garam had a hierarchy because garam was not only a fish sauce but a status symbol of its time. While today the Birkin or Kelly are the most exclusive bags made of exotic skins, back then it was the garam stocharium, the finest fish preserve from Spain. It was only for emperors or the elites. If we come down a tier, there was the standard garum, the liquamen. Just like the Evelyn or Garden Party are the entry level luxury item, they have the high end leather but are meant for daily use. Just like that, liquamen had high end utility and was used by wealthy upper middle class. Then we have the hydrogarum, the budget one, diluted with water made for soldiers, just like the Twilly scarf. You get the orange box and the logo, but not the high end leather. Then there were the leftovers, Alec, the thick paste left at the bottom for the poor, just like pre owned project bags. But you might be thinking, why did I compare the elite garum with the Kelly or Birkin? Well, do you even know how expensive that garum was? It was not called the liquid gold for nothing. The garum sociorum cost 1000 sesterces for about 6 liters. Okay, I know you didn't get that. So, during the early empire, a Roman legionary soldier earned about 900 to 1200 sesterces per year. Meaning, if he had to buy the single jar of the best sauce, he would have to spend his entire annual salary for fish sauce. But why was it so costly? Well, it wasn't just fish sauce, it was a surprisingly complex product. The garum sociorum was made exclusively from the blood and organs of Atlantic mackerel. The best variety was produced in Cartagena Nova, modern day Cartagena, Spain. But not everyone was a fan. Seneca, who was actually born in Spain, famously hated it, calling it a costly extract of poisonous fish. So, why was Spanish garum so exclusive? Because it had the perfect industrial setup. The Spanish coast set right on the migratory route of the Atlantic mackerel, and the intense heat of the natural marshes allowed for faster, higher quality fermentation. Spain was home to some of the largest factories of the empire. Okay, we know the facts, but what is the real reason? Like, why was it so expensive? Yeah, I mean, a part of it was the origin, the quality, the production, but that still doesn't explain everything because at the end of the day, it was still a fish sauce. So, why were people paying an entire year's salary for it? Well, because they weren't buying garum, they were buying what it represented. For ancient Rome, serving garum sociorum from Spain was the same as carrying a Birkin or wearing a Patek Philippe today. This is what we now call the Veblen effect, where the higher the price, the more desirable something becomes. Serving the most expensive Spanish garum was a way to broadcast your wealth, power, and success to the dinner guest. It signaled that you were part of the 0.1% who could literally afford to pour money onto your plate. Today, brands like LVMH use the same pricing power. By keeping prices high, they maintain the product status as a symbol of success. And just like today, brands use scarcity tactics. Think supreme drops or limited editions. Back then, there was a limited seasonal mackerel blood harvest for which elites would wait for months, even years sometimes. On top of that, a high end jar of Spanish garum was labeled with military precision. Think of the stamping as basically the QR code of the ancient Rome. Since garum was stored in identical looking clay jars, the amphorae, the producers needed a way to prove theirs wasn't a cheap knockoff. They used something called tituli picti, hand painted or stamped labels that acted as a certificate of authenticity. In a world without regulation, the stamp was the only thing standing between them and food poisoning. People paid for the brand's reputation. And it was also a flex factor. Like when guests walk into a Roman kitchen, the first thing they saw were these stamped jars. It was like leaving a Louis Vuitton shopping bag on the counter. It showed you shopped at the right places. Believe it or not, archaeologists have also found fake stamps, where cheap local producers try to mimic the handwriting and names of famous Spanish factories. Even 2000 years ago, people were out there selling Fendi bags that were actually Fundy. Just like Rolex has a serial number or Moncler jacket has an NFC tag to prove its authenticity, the Roman stamp protected the brand's intellectual property. The objects change, the fish changes, but the hunger for that stamp is eternal. You're not buying a product, you're buying a 2000-year-old hierarchy.